about the show?
So the show is written by a gentleman named Doug Zavita, and it's only been produced, as far as I'm aware, like 1 or 2 times previously. So it's fairly new work, which is great,
Hmm.
because we don't have like these great expectations, which will be funny in a minute, of what the show is supposed to be, and we
Hmm.
can kind of look at the script and create what we think it should be, which is wonderful. And the show is about basically this Dashwood family, the Dashwood family, and it's a I don't want to give a lot away, but
Hmm.
there are a lot of identification issues
Okay.
and people living double lives, and it's very, very clever. So basically the play takes characters for some really well-known novels and plays that you've heard of or seen, and a lot written by Charles Dickens. So it takes, like,
Hmm.
just as an example, Great Expectations and
Okay.
Sense and Sensibility, Sweeney
Nice.
Todd, Oliver Twist, and it
Yeah.
takes these characters that people have loved for years and years and years and years and years and put them into a brand new story, giving these characters a brand new life. And so it intertwines all of these different stories and characters together and creates a new story, Nell Dash, which is a lot of fun. And so we're having so much fun doing all of the diving into what the original stories of these characters are and how that's
Right.
changed in this story and how to bring these characters to life. And we're having a ball.
That's awesome. And I love the play on Great Expectations. And for a show that has only been produced once or twice, it's kind of nice to not have the audience have preconceived notions of how they think a show should go. You
Right.
get to really you don't have to battle the expectations of an audience and what they love about certain shows or the way that it's been done before. You get to really just kind of put your own stamp on it and say, hey, I'm going to introduce it to a lot of people for the first time. So this is going to be their impression. This is going to be the way that they take the show and compare it to others because this is going to be the first time that they're going to see it put on.
Exactly. For 99% of the audience who's coming to see the show, they will never have seen the show before. They've never heard of it. They have no idea what it's about. And hopefully, as they go through the story, they're discovering new things from classic stories that they already know and love.
And that's another fun thing about this show is that it's taking familiar characters. So it's not like the audience is coming in going, I don't know any of what's going on, or this is totally new to me. There is that familiarity of characters that they've heard about, but it's the idea of looking at them in a whole new light. So when you said, you've been having fun, the cast has been having fun going back and going over the classic stories of these characters, is that a real foundation for what the character is going to be like in the show? Or is it sort of like that's the beginning of them and that's a part of them, but we're going to really expand on who they are and kind of step away necessarily from how people really view them?
Yeah, and so it's really interesting because the way the show is written, which is so smartly done, the characters aren't always the same, following the same storyline that they have. Either it's an addition or a brand new story for this character, or it's a prequel, or it's after the fact,
Mm.
or one character is two characters from two different stories come together. So really, it was about digging in and making sure that we understand what all the references are because they
Yep.
are buried everywhere, and then saying, like, inherently, what are some of these things about these characters that people know and love and recognize, and what do we want to pull from, and how does that serve this story? Because we're not trying to say, oh well, the character of Sweeney Todd, how is Sweeney Todd always played, and how do people normally think of Sweeney Todd, and that's how we have to do it. That's
Right.
not what we're thinking at all from a character perspective. It's very outside the box, but we are using the original source data as reference, so that we are making sure that we're, catching all of the really smart humor that's in the script.
So it sounds like this is a decently sized cast as well with all these. How many characters are there in total?
So that's actually a really good question. How many characters are in total? There are only 9 players. So we only have 9 actors that are helping bring all of these characters to life. And so some of them play only one character, some play two, and some play upwards of 4 characters. And then we have, so really, there's 8 players that play characters, and then our 9th player is playing the character of Bullseye, the dog, and is serving as our storyteller that helps sort of
Mm,
bring all of this together. Because if you've ever been to a show at the Heist Players, it is a very specific space, and we need
yes.
to make sure that we can allow for all 9 of our actors to have the moment that they need to get into character and out of character, and allow the story to come to life for the audience.
Yeah,
So it's
that's a lot of
yeah,
personalities for some of these actors to take on.
it is. And what we did was right at the start, we recognized as a cast and as a team that the character work and bringing these characters to life and what tools we have in our arsenal, our acting arsenals and directing
Mhm.
arsenals and production team, as well as costuming and sets and how we bring that out to the audience so that the audience understands that these 9 people are playing all of these different characters, and they need to come with us on that ride so that
Mhm.
when one character in a scene exits the stage and then enters 5 minutes later as a different character, the audience A knows who they're playing, B understands they're a different person, and C is there for it and willing to accept that and there for all of the fun that it is. So it's been a fun journey so far.
It's a different kind of task to take on as a director and as actors as well. So let's talk about that process for a little bit about how you are so clearly defining all of these characters and how you are working with the actors to make sure that whether it's specific physical traits combined with costumes and mannerism, like what are you laying out so that, hey, these are the tools that when you change and you go backstage, do A, B, and C, and that's how it helps you flip back into character. Like, how are you guys working to create those lines and make it clear to the audience?
So those are tools that every actor has to come up with for themselves. And
Hmm.
I myself have a background in acting, so I have taken all those tools that I have in my arsenal, and I'm trying to give those to my cast to add to their already created toolboxes of tools. But we did play around with not only body language and it's not just about posture. It's not just about a dialect, but it's about the speed and the tone and how the cadence in which you're speaking and the weight in which you're walking and moving through space. And there's so much more that goes into it that are slight differences. We talk a lot about people watching and see how different kinds of people and watch how different types of characters and actors bring things to life. And then in terms of dialects, like there are definitely different dialects that people are bringing to different characters. And we talked about like having a trigger for yourself, like what sentence
Hmm.
can I say to myself in my head that will immediately get me into that character so that I can
Right.
quickly switch. And as well as costuming, our assistant director James Martinelli is also doing our costumes, and he is working with our team to so that everyone has like a base layer, and then with the use of accessories and costuming can easily quickly change and be identified as the different characters as a staple, so that when someone comes on with a hat or a coat, the audience by the second time they see them knows which
Hmm.
character that is.
Hmm.
It's been a really interesting adventure for everyone.
And those are definitely those are challenges when you're dealing with the fact that you might have quick changes. There's not as much space, behind the set to change. And so it's not like somebody gets to full on change. It's not you say, okay, and cut, go to your trailer, change, come back, we'll do another scene. Like, no, this is in theater, it's constant live. So they have minutes to change. I mean, I remember doing breakfast at Tiffany's and Ashley was just like behind the scenes. I mean, just and that's when she's in one character. So I can't even imagine how quick and how precise the intentions, the placement of certain costume pieces and things that have to go, and those character thoughts that these actors have to think because it's minutes before they have to come out and embody a totally different person with minimal physical things in terms of the costume change. Like there's only a couple, like you said, only a couple things that they can do, but also to physically get in that character space and get in their headspace as well. It's for sure a challenge and a different kind of show, but it's gotta be so much fun in that sense too, because it's almost like you're not giving yourself enough time to think. Even as a director, you're like, "We gotta go. We really gotta have fun with this and commit and not overthink it because we can't be in our heads with all these characters that we're balancing."
Absolutely. A lot of the time, we'll be in rehearsal, and I'll say to an actor, "So where did you leave from and what character were you? Like
Yeah.
where are your costume pieces? Like if you have costume pieces for one costume in a different place, I need to know so that we can figure this out. And it really has become this puzzle that we're all solving together. And it's really been wonderful. And all of the actors have been very much on board for the playing and the creating of this space,
Yes.
and we're figuring it out as we go, because like I said at the beginning, there's no stencil, there's no this is what's expected, this is how it's been done in the past. So we're figuring it out. And there are only 8 uh playing characters, and then player 9 has really come in as an integral part to help us put this whole story together,
Yes.
so that the audience can come along on this tale with us. So we're not going to try to hide the fact that when one actor leaves the stage and comes on 4 minutes later as a different character, that it is not the same actor. Like, the audience is
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
be in on that. And that is what is going to be so fun and makes it that extra level of interaction. And so if a character has to, if an actor has to change from one character to another, and they have 2 lines to do it,
Mhm.
rather than run off stage, quick change, hide, player 9 is helping us come out onto that stage and make that transition in front of everyone, so that we all understand exactly what's happening, exactly how it's
Yes.
happening, and is there for the story. And it's more for the audience of ooh, who are they going to be now? And
Right.
it's going to elevate the level of excitement. And so it really is a wonderful ensemble where they're all supporting each other really well. And
Mhm.
it's so far a great process.
I love Okay, so let's talk about the casting for this, because obviously this is a different kind of casting process than your typical here. Sides for a character, and let's see if you fit this role. Because in your mind, you're like, yeah, you might be great for this one, but where else can I place you? So how did you cast for this show?
So I tried to think outside the box at the beginning and see, like, how crazy can I make my casting and just be
Yeah.
that person who does weird things. And then ultimately, I our casting call was, everybody come, sit down, sit tight. We're gonna throw you all different places. We're gonna throw you all different sorts of sides. Um, and then when we got to the callback, we had a conversation with everyone who was there. Like, this is what we're doing. This is the kind of show that it is. This is how we all need to be on board and together. So we all stood up and we're like, all right, let's be really silly together for 4 minutes and get that out of our system. And now we're all been silly together and we can jump into this and just play. And since
Oh,
that
wow.
moment, everyone has been on board for that. Like, we throw out crazy ideas and everyone's there for it, and it's wonderful.
That's super, because you do have to approach this in a different way. You can't kind of run a typical audition, because you're not asking somebody to just really inhabit one person. You're saying how much flexibility, how much play, how open are you to just sort of throwing the typical book out. You can't sit in one headspace the entire time. So how easy can you jump from being one person to another, and how open are you to just allowing that kind of back and forth to happen, because that's what you need for this kind of show. So I can't wait to see. It looks This the idea of that is so much fun. And as like from an actor's perspective and from somebody who's been behind the scenes, it's like I can't wait to see how both sides of that played out. Like to watch how it gets all put together, and then to see these actors portray these different people, and what they do to embody these different characters. So much fun for an audience to see come to life. And I'm sure that that's been a fun journey for you too, is to watch how these actors process that, and how like, oh, I see what that person's doing. That's interesting. That's cool. That like everybody's got their own different way. Like you said, they're all their different tools in their creative toolbox that they can use. As a director, I also imagine this presented its own kinds of challenges for you that was different from another show that you've done. So what was the biggest challenge? What was the biggest difference in this show? Was it the multitude of characters per actor? Like what was the main challenge for you as a director in taking on this show?
So for me as a director looking at the show, there are a lot of different locations. The show has a really specific pace to it, the way I read it. And some of the scenes are half a page or a page long, and then
Mhm.
it's in one location that's only seen once or twice. And then that jumps to another location 1 page later. So these are really quick transitions, and we didn't want to spend too much time changing, like going into blues and spending all this time moving furniture and bringing furniture
Mm,
on, and
mhm,
now where
mhm.
are we, because it really does break up the play time, and it
Yeah.
also kind of breaks up the story. And because the story is a lot, we need everyone on board and paying attention and seeing how it works so that they can follow. So one thing that was really important to me was a way to develop what can, for the most part, be a unit set so that we don't have a ton of things coming on and off, and that the actors are already worried about so much. They're worried about what character they're playing, what
Hmm.
their intention is, what emotions they're supposed to be having, what dialect they're supposed to be doing, and where their costumes are and where their costumes are for the next scene, and all of different things. Like, I didn't want to add another layer of technical complexity on
Right.
top of that. So that was definitely one of the big challenges for me, sitting down and making sure that I can, use the space the way it can be used, as well as bringing to life the story in a way that allows the actors to be actors while they're on the stage. And that was probably my biggest challenge. Also, there when I was first when the show was first brought to me, they were like, "Wow, this is a great show. We're really excited about it, but there's a dog, and we're not sure how you would solve that problem." And I
Good luck.
Right, and I, without even hesitating, I didn't. It was that wasn't a problem to me.
Hmm.
I literally responded. And I was like, "Oh, the dog's gonna be a puppet." And then the problem of like, oh, the dog's gonna be a puppet. What does that mean? Like, I came out of my mouth, I knew it was the right answer, and then having to solve for that. And puppetry is like a thing in my family. My younger brother is a puppeteer, and so like it was obvious to me. And then just figuring out how to bring it to life was a separate challenge. But then once we put the whole concept together, and it really did all come together like a big puzzle. We looked at everything and said, this is how we think we need this to run, and then we have this whole, how are we going to solve all of these problems? And that's where the vision for Player 9 came in this storyteller role. And it really does allow us to make the best of the script that we've been given and really bring the meat of it to life. Like, for example, at the top of each scene, there's a descriptive, but not like, it doesn't give away the plot, but it's
Mm.
very descriptive. For example, one of them is like, in which the fog, like the plot, thickens. And it's like this introduction to the chapter of the story. And
Right.
I wanted to bring those to life. Trying to figure out the right way to do that without taking up precious scenery space, wall space,
Mm.
time with projections.
Mhm.
And that allowed us, that's where the vision for this storyteller who helps bring us through these different chapters in this story came to be. And she's also playing Bullseye the dog, which is great, with our little puppet that we have. And I'm so excited about it.
That's so fun. Oh my gosh. And you talked about, your brother's a puppeteer and there's obviously a lot of artistry in your family. You also said that you are an actor as well. So let's talk about your journey a little bit into this foray and into this field. Did you come like is your entire family super creative? Was it something where from the time that you can remember you've been putting on shows in your room or working with your brother playing around? Like it was something where you were always in that kind of a world from the time you were a little kid.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, my family is creative. My mother's a painter. As I said, my younger brother is also an actor, but a puppeteer. He has a podcast. Like, we're
Awesome.
just very creative people. And since I was young, my family has always really loved the theater. I remember, I think my first Broadway show was Phantom of the Opera. I think I was 7, and then
Oh wow.
Cats a billion times. My parents didn't love it, and then and then Les Miserables. And every time I would go see Les Miserables, I would come home, which was a lot. And I would come home and my father would say, "But did he die?" And I'd be like, "Well, which one? Everyone dies." He'd be like, "Javert, did he do it? Did he jump?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he always jumps, Dad." Like, but it was like, but it was always this like exciting thing. And my family has always really been into it. And we grew up singing, Andrew Lloyd Webber in our
Mhm.
car. Sunset Boulevard. My mother used to sing Sunset Boulevard to us all the time. Like, and it's definitely been a thing. And then when I was in high school, I did theater and even in elementary school. And then I went to college and I became a Bachelor of Fine Arts major in theater at Hofstra, which was wonderful. And I graduated from there. And since then, I've been acting, and I stage manage and I direct and I do pretty much anything that has to do with theater to keep me going. And it really is like my lifeblood. If I don't do it for too long, I start to get antsy and sad.
So that, yeah, that's it's kind of like a fuel to the fire in terms of like, I don't care which way I'm involved in the theater, just let me stay involved in it.
Right. And I've been very lucky in that I've been able to work with a lot of different companies across mostly Brooklyn, in all different types of theater. I've produced short films, and I've acted in short films, and on stage, and done musicals and straight plays. And it's been a lot of fun.
So then how did you were in theater in high school, was there a moment that you said, I would really like to direct, or did it all just come from the, oh, there isn't a role for me in the show, or maybe I didn't get it, but I can be involved in the stage yet? Was it just getting involved behind the scenes? Was it a conscious decision, or more just that desire of like, I just want to be involved in some way, so just whatever you want me to do, I'll do it?
Yeah. So a lot of the opportunities that I've gotten outside of schooling. So when we were
Mhm.
in school, we had to do technical things. It was part of the program. You had to learn how to do
Yes.
different things, and
Yeah.
I wanted to learn lots of things. And so I started SMing and ASMing, and doing that in college. And so I had that skill. And then even directing, I believe my first directing job, I guess, is was in senior year of college, and I was informed that my elementary school, where I did theater as a child, had lost their director, and they had no one to direct the show for the third, fourth, and fifth graders. And I was not happy about this, and partnered up with one of the teachers there, and came back during my final semester, like every day, rearranged my schedule so I can drive all the way back to Brooklyn and direct that production for those third, fourth, and fifth graders that year. And that was really when I saw that you can bring a group of people together and bring something to life just with the passion for it. I had taken directing classes in college,
Mhm.
but that wasn't my focus. Then
Right.
when I got out of college, like I said, there were lots of different opportunities. For at one point, a bunch of my friends and I opened our own theater company that was running for a long time, still
Amazing.
continues. And so, like, I really that stepped into more of a producer role then. And then someone said to me one day when I was acting in a show, I think you'd make a good stage manager. Do you know how to stage manage? And I said, I do know how to stage manage. And so then I started stage managing. And then someone else would say, oh, I need you over here or over there. And then someone would call
Mhm.
me and say, I think you would be good at this. Is this a thing you know how to do? And I would say, yes, I know how to do it. And so I would just do it. I like being involved, and it
Mhm.
really does fulfill me. So anytime someone asks for help and I'm able to do it, I do it. So that's how I
Yeah.
ended up, getting into all the different areas, including directing. And then I decided I wanted to submit to be in the directors workshop, the Heights Players.
Yeah.
I want to say 2019, pre-pandemic.
I think that's
That is,
correct. I think
I want
that's
to say,
correct. I think
that's
it was.
correct.
Yeah.
Because weren't you in that same set of
Yeah.
workshops?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was Jacob. Yeah, that was Jacob's,
That was Jacob's show.
workshop.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think it was 2019.
Yeah.
And and I said, yes, I found a show that I was really passionate about, which surprisingly also took characters from other stories and brought them together into and breathed new life into them,
Yep.
which seems to be a pattern for me at the Heights Players. But I love it, and it's a lot of fun. And so then that was probably the last time I directed since, because then we were all
Wow,
sent home.
yeah.
We were all
So
sent
really,
home.
it really was, and I feel that so much because that's how I've gotten involved in stuff where it wasn't ever a conscious decision. It was, yeah, I've thought about this or I've thought about that, but just taking the opportunities that come and the chance to, oh no, I haven't done that, but I'd like to learn, so let me help out, and just growing in that way. It's so much fun being a part of a production in different elements and seeing how they all work. I also think that when you understand everybody's job, even if you've never actually done it, if you take the time to try and understand what they're doing, I feel like all that does is actually create a much more cohesive set and a much more respected set because everyone respects each other's roles. You understand what it takes to do this, you understand what it takes to do that. So you get and appreciate what they're doing in their role, and everybody's like, yeah, we get it, we're all working together, none of this is going to work if one of us is off. So it's nice to have, it's nice to be on a set where people are appreciative and understanding of what everybody is putting in to make it happen.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I could not have said that any better. Having a holistic view of theater specifically and everything that goes into it really does make your whole team stronger. And those are the times where you get a really good group of people together, which I personally think we have for Nell Dash. And even on their breaks, they're helping each other, and they're doing all types of things. And at the end of rehearsal, everyone's helping to pitch in, because we know that this is a community theater, and we are a
Mm-hmm.
community, and we are all members of this community theater. And that's the other thing I was going to say, was that the Heights Players is a great place and a great avenue for people who are interested in learning all different things
Mm-hmm.
to do it. So, for example, on my production team, I have someone who's doing props for, I believe, the first time, someone who's doing sound for the first time, because I said, hey, I'm looking for someone who, I need someone to do sound. And someone came up to me and said, Felicia Hangs came up to me and said, I never done sound. I think I would like it. Can I
Amazing.
try? And I said, absolutely. Let's do it. We'll figure it out together.
Yay.
And it really is a we'll figure it out together teamwork
Mm-hmm.
company and department and production that we have all together. It's really amusing, because at rehearsals, my actors will say, well, how are we going to do this? And I'm not sure how we're going to do that. And then I say how I think we're going to do it. And they all look at me like, really? And then we do it, and they're like, oh my gosh, that works. Okay, it's great. Or like last night at rehearsal, we were putting something together, and I was trying to do something, and I was trying to get somewhere, and then someone was like, I have a thought. And I'm like, great. I love it when people have thoughts. What are the thoughts? Let's all solve it together. And we really all came together to do one of the most complicated scenes all together. And it had a lot of problems that needed to be solved, and by the end of the night we had gotten through all of them as a team, and everyone knew exactly what everyone else was supposed to be doing, which, for this type of production, because every actor is playing more than one character, everyone kind of needs to know where everyone else is doing, because
Right.
everyone's on their own separate track, and it's really
Right.
interesting.
And what a wonderful collaborative atmosphere to create too. I mean, I can understand how maybe there's certain shows or certain way of doing things where you're like, okay, I can't have chefs in this kitchen, but at the same time, creating an atmosphere that allows people to feel comfortable vocalizing questions or thoughts or ideas, just knowing that, yeah, they might not work, but I have something. And if you look like you're having trouble, maybe I can suggest something. That's so important too. Like you're making everybody feel comfortable. And that then leads to what is also important is giving people a chance. It's so easy to say, oh, I know somebody that's really good at this and somebody else that's really good at that. And that's wonderful to bring people in that are already good at that specific role. But when someone comes up to you, like she was like, I don't know sound, but I'd like to try it. Being open and saying, yes, we're going to give you that opportunity, because how else are people going to learn? That's how we all learn. So keeping that kind of collaborative, open, understanding environment creates such a bond for the cast and crew, and creates such a wonderful, comfortable environment that it's like there's nothing but good things that can happen, because that we're all in it together. So something does go wrong, or on this day of a show, somebody forgets something, we're all going to support each other because we've all been there for each other from the beginning.
Right. Exactly. And that's another thing that, even as a cast, we had a conversation about, that, everyone's playing different characters. What happens if somebody walks on stage and just is in the wrong character? Like, what do we
Right.
do? How do we support them? How do we make sure everyone's staying on top of it? Even backstage, if your costume's in the wrong place, like knowing that your cast is going to have your back, and
Yeah.
your production team is going to have your back. So we've really tried to create an atmosphere that is like that, and it's working really well for us. So I'm really excited, and sad for how quickly it's going, but
Yeah.
excited to see the final product.
And what do you hope when the audience comes to see an L dash? What are you hoping that they walk away from it with? Or is there a particular moment that you cannot wait to see play out in front of an audience that you're like, I can't wait to see the reaction to this, because this is going to be awesome. This particular moment, or maybe just a feeling that they can walk away from. You're like, I hope the show gives them this.
Yeah, so I hope that the audience comes and sees the show and buys into the atmosphere of play and creativity that we're putting out there. And
Hmm.
I hope that they all leave and go, "Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. I could tell that everyone on that stage was having a blast, and I caught this reference. Did you catch that reference? Did you catch when they said X? And I think this is from that. And what other references were there?" Like, I really do think it's that kind of show that you could be talking about it for an hour afterwards, trying to find all the fun things that have been hidden in the script by
Yeah.
this playwright. But I ultimately, it's a fun, playful night of theater with a group of actors and production team that want to create fun work and bring new stories to life. And I hope that's what the audience feels and takes away from it.
I can't wait to see it, and I'm sure the audience is going to love it. It sounds like so much fun. Not only can I not wait to see these stories be told, but I can't wait to see how the production comes together because it clearly took a lot of thought and love and organization to make this work in the way that you needed to, and to see it all as a final product has got to be so exciting. Thank you so much for hanging and for telling us all about Nell Dash. The Heights players, you can get your tickets now. You can buy them online and reserve your seat. Thank you again. And break a leg, it's going to be an amazing show.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to see you there.